Hey guys, welcome to the segment this week. We're very, very excited. We have Mr. David De Silva here from De Silva Hebron. He's a great man in our community up here in the Northern Territory and has been here for a long, long time. Welcome to the program, Mr. David. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for inviting me.
Mate, welcome. Well, this is going to be great. Hopefully you're going to stop me from being sued for anything I say. But let me tell you, was David a rock star, a football star, a lawyer? How did you get into law?
Well, it's not a long story, Chris, but I left Adelaide with my girlfriend, now my wife, and we were on a journey to find a place to live and to find a career. I didn't want to work in Adelaide, and I drifted around and I ended up in Darwin in 1982 with when the Lindy Chamberlain trial was on. And I said to my girlfriend, Wendy, let's go and sit in on the trial. And we went along to the trial every day, and I said to her, I know what I want to do. I want to be one of those guys up the front of the court, and I want to do it in Darwin.
So before that, you had no ambition of being a lawyer?
Absolutely none. I just didn't see it as part of my future. I hadn't even contemplated it. I was thinking about being a bar manager or something like that.
So the Lindy Chamberlain case, my gosh, that changed the course of history for us. And so you were right there in the courtroom every day.
Yeah, we'd go along every morning and we'd jostle for a seat in the public gallery and sit down and watch the trial unfold. And we were absolutely convinced at the end of it that Lindy would be acquitted, but it wasn't to be, as history shows.
Because that was a defining moment in the Territory's history, that Lindy Chamberlain case. And that's what really got you inspired into law.
Absolutely. It was an incredible moment. It got me going. I went back to uni and I went back to Adelaide, got through my degree and came straight back up here.
Yeah, wow. So tell me this. So you've got a great business, De Silva Hebron, and you're the principal in that business at the moment. What are the main areas that your business focuses on?
It's fair to say that we're a general practice, Chris. We do most areas of law. We don't do taxation or superannuation. We do everything from personal injury, criminal law, but our primary focus is on the business community of Darwin and servicing their needs.
Break it down a little bit for me. Like most small businesses, let's say go 30 years ago, they didn't really need a lawyer or they didn't really accountants or lawyers, but now it's really important to obviously have the right accountant and have some really good legal representatives. So you focus in on supporting businesses. That's mainly your...
We do. We help business do business. Yeah. We help businesses plan for their future. We work, and that is with making sure they've got their succession right, making sure that they plan for their personal lives through their wills and personal plans. There's a whole lot of things that we do working with business.
So break it down for me, because me being the non-law genius, what are the areas in your business? So there's litigation.
Broadly, there's litigation and commercial. Yeah. That's the broad headers.
Yeah.
Under litigation, you'd have commercial litigation, that is disputes on contracts and the like. Yeah. You'd have industrial relations, you'd have employment issues, personal injury claims, yeah. That type of matter, debt collection. And then on the commercial side, it's transactional work, so you're working to advise corporations, directors, boards. You are putting together shareholder agreements, putting together supply contracts, and that type of thing. So they're quite distinct. One is transactional based and advisory based. The other is focused on courts and dispute resolution.
And then licensing, so liquor, that's a big part for you.
Yes, yeah. I can't forget that, Chris, because
we all love a drink.
It's an area that's very dear to my heart. Liquor licensing is a huge part of my day-to-day practice, and we do a lot of work in that.
So why has this area become so difficult or such a challenge?
Look, we all know that there are social issues posed by alcohol, and no one is trying to dodge them. The problem, however, has become the red tape that surrounds liquor licensing, all motivated by good things, that is the right reasons, but the problem is it's now becoming...
It's affecting the whole community.
It's affecting the whole community, and it's making the business of doing business in the Northern Territory is so much harder and so costly.
And so is the way through that, is it basically just the government stepping in and get rid of red tape, or what's the answer to fix this?
There is definitely a need to remove red tape. It's become an extraordinary, challenging, regimented system that's more attuned to a court process than a tribunal process, which is really what it should be. I mean, I really think the Liquor Commission has a place. So does the Licensing NT and the Director of Liquor Licensing, and they should be complementing each other. But to get a liquor licence is incredibly hard in the Northern Territory, or to work with a liquor licence is very hard.
It's very difficult. So, so obviously you're in a position of you're at the top of your field in a legal sense. Running a business is a whole different ball game. HR, leases on photocopiers, taxation, accountants, and so do you enjoy the business side of things, or is it mainly just the law is what you really enjoy?
Well, that's a really good question, Chris. When I first came into the Northern Territory, I was a lawyer working for a firm, and I had never ever thought of being in business on my own. It was something that...
Someone should have slapped you. Smack.
Once you get into business, as you know, there are so many other aspects of that you have to cover off on. And so practicing the law became, while it's always been important and critical to my my livelihood, I've also had to learn to understand how our business operates. And the very issues you've identified, employment issues, working with staff well, dealing with your suppliers and paying the bills are critical.
Yeah, they're critical to get right in a small town too.
Absolutely, because you can actually really tarnish your good name and reputation by not doing the right thing.
So, David, what have you learnt from a business perspective? If there was a young couple or Bob Smith wanting to start a business, and they came and said, "David, can I buy you a cup of coffee? I've got this dream of starting a business." Is there any advice you'd give them?
I think the most important advice, Chris, and you and I both have felt this, is that you have got to emphasise to someone who's just starting out that it just doesn't come to them. They have to work hard to get to where they want to be. Then they need to really understand what their business is and who their market is. Once they understand that, and if they do think they can make it work, talk to your accountant. As you identified it as being one of the most critical people to have on site, and you could do far worse than have you include your accountant in on every step you take. Watch your overheads. So many people spend with it unnecessarily. I check my bank balances every day and have done for every day of my business life. I look at my bank balances, because at the end of the day, that's the true record of where you're at. But mostly it's work hard. Just keep working hard at it.
Most of us think that we all can employ the magic fairy from Facebook or watching Facebook, but hard work, you're right. Let me tell, is there any area of, let's say small business, 1 to 20 employees, that seems to be a pattern where we trip up? Is there a pattern in your world from a legal perspective that we seem to trip up and we don't protect ourselves, or we don't get knowledge in?
Yes, that's a really good question, Chris. And there is the one pattern that emerges to lawyers often is the handshake agreement. People going into sometimes not even complex arrangements, but they haven't documented what the arrangements are, and everyone's really friendly at the outset, but when things go wrong, they go very wrong, and all of a sudden the business is lost, the business is damaged, and people are hurting. Document things early, front end load in any aspect of your business activity. make sure you've got it right before you go into the activity.
And I know a company that can actually help you with that. 1-800-daviddesilva.com. So my daughter had the ambition of trying to get into law. She finished year 12 and she thought she would try law. She tried an online course and she found it was extremely dry. She was interested in criminal law. What would you advise to anyone out there that's thinking about going into the legal profession? How do they even start that journey?
I fully empathise with your daughter, Chris. I think studying online is one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. I myself went to university in the traditional way. I found it difficult, but I got through it, and I know through personal experience, and we've been hiring graduates from CDU from its inception, that this university is a good university, and I would suggest that if your daughter is keen, try to get into the course there.
Yeah, good. She found it really tough, very dry, very, very dry.
Hard work.
Very dry.
You need the interaction. You need the interaction with your fellow students and with the lecturers.
Yep.
You need to have a cup of coffee and talk about what you've just learned. And
You're, David, you're a massive advocate for supporting local, and you're extremely engaged in our community up here in the Northern Territory. Where does that drive come from? It's more than just a business or strategic business plan. There's something in you that ticks to support local. Where does that come from?
it goes right back to my first year in the Territory as a lawyer. I got invited onto a soccer tribunal, and when I worked through that, I realised that I could give assistance to the community through working with local organisations. And since then, I've pretty much worked for every sporting organisation in the Territory in one way, shape or form. And I've got involved in the arts and other local businesses. It's just something that I love doing, Chris, and I love working with the community.
I think it's amazing up here. There's an enormous amount of charities, and it's somehow, I think it's incredible the way the private sector does support a lot of these not-for-profits. It's incredible in our town. One of the things a lot of people do is they jump on a board, yes, or they jump on an association. Is there, and I hear it a lot, is there any, well, we probably don't understand the legal requirements of jumping on a board. Would that be accurate to say?
Absolutely, yes, that's right. Look, firstly, I should say that if you get the opportunity to work with your local football club on the committee or in an arts organisation or whatever it might be, you should try and grab the opportunity, because they're unique and they give you an insight into your pastime. Yeah. But be careful.
What do they need to be careful? What are
the first and foremost, you need to be careful about stepping into a position where there is personal liability. And if the organisation that you are looking to join isn't trading very well, there's always the risk that you join as a member of the committee or a member of a board. You will end up potentially with some personal liability through insolvent trading. So look carefully at the financial statements, the financial records, check a few years back, look at annual reports and the like, to just get a good feel for how the organisation is going. Now, a lot of organisations are looking for assistance from their members when they're going bad.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
Don't necessarily walk away, but make sure that you understand what you're getting into.
Is there an insurance or an indemnity that boards can get that protect their board members?
Yes, that's a very important point. Officers' indemnity insurance is directors and officers' insurance, really important. And if you are looking at going onto a board or a committee, ask for their insurance policy. Great. And have a look at where your risks are covered. All right.
Back to so we digress. Back to Silva Hebron. Is there a standout moment? This is going to be a hard one. Is there a standout moment in your sort of 25 plus years of being in that business? Is there a standout moment for you?
Look, I've thought really hard about that question, Chris, and I thought for a moment I'd say, it was when I was in the High Court in Canberra, or we had a great result in the Supreme Court. But ultimately, I think I have standout moments regularly. Like, I might see a junior practitioner get a really good result in in a small claim, and they're ecstatic and they're over the moon, and that's to me a standout moment. I might see a practitioner step over, get a major contract through, and they've done all of the nuts and bolts work in between, and they feel really proud of themselves, and I feel so proud for them because I know that they've passed a milestone in their career, and they're ready for more and bigger and better work. And I see that all the time. One of our solicitors recently finished a major criminal trial, controversial, on the front page of the paper every day. There was an acquittal at the end of it, and she was working at 187% of her KPIs. And she came out of it, and I have never been so proud in my life as to see her face at the acquittal.
Yeah, good. I think that's the parent in you. Fantastic. Hey, so one question. So we just went through an election, Northern Territory. What's one of the things that you really are passionate about ensuring our newly elected government stay true to, or is there anything you're passionate about?
Well, we touched on it earlier, Chris, and it remains my very real passion, and that is to eradicate the red tape. If we are going to move forward in the Northern Territory commercially, we need to be able to do business effectively, and I'm finding through various aspects of our work, we're dealing with more and more red tape every day, whether that's in the mining industry, liquor licensing, or generally development work.
So what you're saying is ultimately that's going to crush our ability to be commercial.
Yes, if it takes too long, investors aren't interested, and people lose money, people lose drive, and they walk away.
Yeah. All right, so to finish off, David, 10 fast questions. Favourite restaurant in the NT?
After last Sunday, the Sri Lankan brunch at Hanuman was magnificent.
Go Jimmy, we love your food, mate. Hanuman restaurant. Favourite area of law?
Liquor licensing by a long shot.
Love a drink. Keep up the good work. Favourite, I know you're involved in a lot of up here not-for-profit and charity, but what would be your favourite charity or not-for-profit organisation you work with?
My favourite charity is the HPA, but I do a lot of work, and I'm chairman of the Darwin Entertainment Centre.
Great work there with Joe Noonan with that show last week slide. Fantastic, Joe. What is your favourite fish to eat up here in the NT?
Golden snapper by a mile.
Catch them as well?
Oh yes.
Okay, and let's say holiday destination or where to visit in the NT?
After last weekend with my family, camping at Litchfield, brilliant.
Only an hour away. Favourite dry season event, because you go to a lot of them?
I love the Darwin Cup.
I still don't get the horses that go around, but anyway, if you had to change professions, a crazy question, what would you think that you could go into?
Look, I've always thought I'd like to be a real estate agent and work in commercial property.
It's because you could sell ice to the Eskimos, brother. Very, very good. And who's the better client to deal with on a legal standpoint? When there's a stoush on, men or women?
Chris, you cannot ask me that question. You'll get me in trouble irrespective of what answer I give you.
You might get sued. Hey, listen, thanks for coming on the show. If anyone needs any support, what I've learned through this whole time, David, particularly is that businesses out there, if they need support in any of these areas, they can give you a call.
Give me a call. Yep. I'm happy to take calls from anyone on any legal issue that they may have.
Yeah, great. Well, all the very best, mate, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All right.